Hi everybody, welcome to Jin's Wall Street News. According to the US Department of Labor, the number of Americans claiming unemployment benefits increased from 203,000 to 217,000 in the week ending January 11th. The US Census Bureau reported Thursday that advanced estimates of U.S. retail and food services sales rose 0.4% in December, below expectations of a 0.6% gain. The Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller discussed the recent inflation data and he said, quote, "If we continue getting numbers like this, it's reasonable to think that possibly rate cuts could happen in the first half of the year," unquote. 10-year Treasury yield falls to 4.61%. For the U.S. stocks, S&P 500 fell 0.21% and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.89% Thursday. Dan Niles, founder of Niles Investment Management, said on Thursday, quote, "I think Nvidia, I would be very careful on the stock this year," unquote. According to the US Department of Labor, the number of Americans claiming unemployment benefits increased from 203,000 to 217,000 in the week ending January 11th. The number of Americans receiving benefits after an initial week of aid decreased from 1,877,000 to 1,859,000 in the week ending January 4th. Both the initial jobless claims and continuing jobless claims remain low by historical standards. The U.S. Census Bureau reported Thursday that advanced estimates of U.S. retail and food services sales rose 0.4% from $725.9 billion in November to $729.2 billion in December, up 3.9% year over year. The November's number was revised up from $724.6 billion. Sales excluding auto dealers, food services, gas stations, and building materials stores, which are used for GDP calculation, advanced 0.7%. The Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller had an interview with CNBC on Thursday in the morning. He discussed the recent inflation data and monetary policy, quote, "The inflation data that we got yesterday was very good. We think core PCE inflation will come in below 0.2. If we continue getting numbers like this, it's reasonable to think that possibly rate cuts could happen in the first half of the year." 10-year Treasury yield had risen to 4.79% last Friday as the jobs report said that the U.S. economy added 256,000 jobs in December. Then it moved up and down even though the producer price index increased 0.2% in December, below expectations. But the yield tumbled on Wednesday as the CPI data came in better than feared in December. Then it fell further on Thursday as the U.S. retail sales rose 0.4% in December, lower than expectations, and Christopher Waller signaled possible rate cuts in the first half of this year. For the U.S. stocks, S&P 500 fell 0.21% and the Dow Jones Industrial Average slid 0.16%. The tech-heavy Nasdaq dropped 0.89%. Many of the US stocks rose, while big tech stocks struggled on Thursday. Shares of Apple tumbled 4.04%. Tesla stock also dropped 3.36%. Shares of Nvidia fell 1.96%, and the US chip stocks mixed. When it comes to Nvidia and the AI-related stocks, then Niles, founder of Niles Investment Management, had an interview with Bloomberg Television, quote, "I think what investors should be concerned about is, if you look at the biggest spender by far on AI capex, it's Microsoft. Microsoft capex has been growing at 70 to 80% year-over-year for the last 6 quarters. But on January 3rd, they said we are going to spend $80 billion on capex in their next fiscal year, which ends in June. But if you go and do the math, they already spent $20 billion in September quarter. They guided that up for the December quarter, which means they were going to spend less than that in the next 6 months. So if you are any kind of chip company that sells into Microsoft or any of these other big hyperscalers, I think you are going to see a dramatic slowdown in revenues by the time you get to the middle of the year. Right now, forecasters are for Nvidia's revenues to grow over 50% this year. I don't think it's going to be even close. I think Nvidia, I would be very careful on their stock this year. It doesn't mean over the next 3 years you can see still growth. I think you have to be very careful out of the AI-related stocks. Okay, this is the end of today's news. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend.